Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Vessalatu vesselamu ala seyyidina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, and from Him do we seek help. All praise be to Allah, the sustainer of all the worlds, and blessings and peace be upon our Master, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on all his family and companions. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our virtual panel discussion on the topic of brotherhood in Islam. And this is almost 3 weeks now, and we have been exploring how partisanship, obstinacy, and covetousness can cause discord, division, rancor, and enmity among the believers, the brothers with Ahli Iman. In the first 2 weeks, thank you very much for our panelists. There are a lot to highlight, but we could maybe pick few sentences just to recall and connect it with our fourth aspect, inshallah, this week we would like to focus on. And our panelist this week is Professor Colin Turner Hocam from Durham, UK, and Professor Mustafa Tuna from Durham, US. We welcome them. Also, we welcome other attendees, and inshallah, today we can benefit and we can share our insights about the topic. So for those who are new, before we start, this program is being presented by Lighthouse for Humanity. This is a non-profit Muslim organization committed to serve all people who seek to understand the meaning of life, the universe, and the individual by intellectual, social, and religious activities. So today, just as a highlight of the beginning, the verses of the Quran from the 22nd letters from the Mektubat, I would like to just highlight it as a reminder. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. İnnemel mu'minûne ihvetun fe aslihu beyne ahavaykum idfa' billeti hiye ahsanu fe idellezî beyneke ve beynehu adavetun ke'ennehu veliyyun hamim vel kâzimînel gayza vel âfîne anin nâsi vallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. So these were the initial ayah which we started our discussion back into about 3 weeks ago. And alhamdulillah, there was a lot of great insight from our brothers. And the main sentence which we were talking about, the partisanship, obstinacy, and covetousness that cause discord, division, rancor, and enmity among believers, Ustad said, these are ugly, rejected, harmful, oppressive, and poisonous. Ustad Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, in his book Mektubat, he did not stop there and saying that don't do this by just putting a full stop. He actually tried to convince our nafs, our lower self, by giving a different dimension. So we actually cover almost half of it. From the point of view of reality, haqiqah, from the point of view of wisdom, wisdom of Islam, personal life, social life, and spiritual life. So aspect 1, 2, and 3, alhamdulillah, we covered. And now in this week, we are in personal life point of view. So as one of the sentence also, just as a side note, in the second aspect, Ustad says the unification of faith surely demands the unification of the hearts, and the unity of creed calls for unity in society. And in the last part, which we discussed last week, the third aspect, according to the Quran verse, no soul will bear the burden of another, which is an expression of adalet-i mahsa, unalloyed justice, harboring enmity and rancor to a believer due to one criminal attribute, which effectively means condemning his other innocent attributes, is unlimitedly oppressive. So there are many dimensions of being like, oppression to ourselves and also to our brothers. So Ustad is bringing our attention to these aspects. So now let's get back to this week's part, which is the fourth aspect. I would like to read a little bit from the beginning, and I want to stop and we'll ask, inshallah, our panelist, Professor Colin Turner and Professor Tuna. And we have also other guest speakers. They are also more than welcome to share their insights. Bismillah, fourth aspect, it is oppression in the view of personal life. Listen to a few precepts that are the foundation of this fourth aspect. First, if you know that your way or ideas are right, you have the right to say, my way is right or more beautiful. But you do not have the right to say, that which is right is only my way. For the secret of the eye of approving pleasure is dim to see any flaws, but the eye of resentment reveals all that is bad. Your unfair view and distorted opinion cannot be the judge. It cannot condemn someone else's way to falsehoods. So before we start to our second golden principle from Ustad, I would like to ask our panelist, Professor Colin Turner, if you are available to share your insights about this beginning part.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Uh,
salam.
Actually, I was just thinking the whole of this treatise um, is a call for solidarity, togetherness, unity, brotherhood, and the creation of a shakhs manawi, a kind of collective personality. And we're supposed to read it every 2 weeks. And I'm only now starting to realize the secret behind this is that we live in the age, in the century of the self. Actually, that's the title of a very good documentary, which I advise everyone to watch. The Century of the Self and the century of the nafs, the century of ownership of we own ourselves. And this is one of the reasons why we say that my way is the only way. You know, they say it's my way. I think this is an American phrase, my way or the highway, right? Either you do what I do or anything else that you do really is worthless. And I'm realizing now the extent to which this treatise encompasses those notions of unity, solidarity, and togetherness. Um, it's for exactly for this reason that we are now inundated in a world that worships the self, and this idea that only my way is the right way comes from that sense of ownership and sense of territorial sovereignty that we have over our own beliefs or over our own, masalik, our own ways, our own paths. We can say that my way is best for me, but I can't say that it's the only way. And of course, it's best for me. I think it's best, and I also think it's better than other ways. Otherwise, I wouldn't be treading this path. If I thought other ways were better, then I would go another way. But I have no right to say that my way is the only way, because other people are different. And if I do say that my way is the only way, it shows you that I haven't really understood the way. It shows you that I'm owning it, I'm exercising sovereignty over it, I'm exercising my sense of territoriality, and really it becomes a kind of arrogant, kind of blustering claim. Yeah, that what I've got is the best and no one else has anything like it. And all other ways are, off the table, really. So this is an unfair view, as he says, and it's a distorted opinion. And the distortion comes through, I think, the naf's tendency to want to own everything and not to understand that other people have other views, which may be as valid as your views are for them at their particular position and in their particular situation. I'm not talking about here a truth being relative. Truth is not relative, but people understand the truth in different ways, and people get to the truth in different ways, and we have to understand that. That's my initial take, anyway.
Thank you very much, Colin Hojam, for your kind, contributions and insights. I would like to ask also Mustafa Hojam if you are available. I mean, in the original text, Ustad says meslek, and here we translate it as, your way. How do we define meslek, meshrab? I think there are within different circles maybe. And how these meslek and meshrab is influencing, in this concept and damaging our personal life. I mean, if we don't, let's say, use this first rule. Can you please elaborate a little bit about this?
Sure, inshallah. That's one of the more difficult words to translate. Not that you can't find any proper word to translate. I think path would have been better, but then we use path for tariqs, and I try to differentiate words. Because Bediüzzaman has a very elaborate edifice of language, and he uses words in specific ways and very consciously. Therefore, I try to differentiate between words. But regardless of the difficulties of translation, you asked about meslek and meshrab. Right? So meslek comes from suluk, and it is basically the path that you take and follow. So different from any path that's out there for anyone to follow, meslek is the path that you choose and follow with the intention to follow to the end. And it is intentional. It is something that you choose to do. Your intellect is involved. As for mashrab, that's more like character. And the Arabic origin for this is sharaba, which means to drink. So it is basically the fountain from which you drink, right? So it is something that's kind of external to you, or that's not within your control, that's given to you. In this case, maybe given to you by God, or it may be given through your socialization, things that you like, things that you are more comfortable with, and so on and so forth. Now, moving beyond etymology here, I think one significant thing that Bediüzzaman is referring to meslek here is that we identify with the path that we choose. We identify with our meshrabs, or rather, we are our meshrabs. We are our characters. But the meslek, as I said, it's intentional, and we choose to follow it, and we identify with it, and that identification may lead to partisanship. And we talked about partisanship before. It came up earlier in the treatise. And because partisanship comes into the picture, and it is human psychology, that this is why this is view of personal life. That's what concerns the person. And this is human psychology, things that we identify with, that we are a part of or party to, we will be prejudiced toward them. And Ustad here is highlighting the fact that when we are prejudiced to something, that may distort our ability to tell truth from falsehood, or to recognize the shades of truth, as Colin Hojam referred to, right? Truth, there may be multiple truths. And again, this is not about relativism, and I think I'll try to say something about that to emphasize what Colin Hojam said. That not recognizing that prejudice and acting as though we are completely objective and we have no prejudice would lead to us saying, truth is what I have, right? And that's a position of arrogance. Now, a prophet like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could say this because his knowledge is coming from the all-knower, and is endorsed by the all-knower. And it is presented in the way that the all-knower wants him to present. Therefore, his knowledge is the very definition of truth, which is tabi al-waqi', the information that follows what is out there, what happens, right? But I cannot say that because, as Ustad explains elsewhere when he talks about the difference between revelation and inspiration, wahi and ilham, we all have mirrors and we look at the light as it reflects on our mirrors, but our mirrors may be dirty, not positioned properly, maybe distorted, maybe colored, right? So we have to maintain that level of modesty in issues that relate to our personal choices and personal ways that we follow, maslak that we follow. But I again want to emphasize that the beginning of this treaty starts by saying "Innamal mu'minuna ikhwa." It says the believers are brothers, and this is primarily a treatise about organizing relations among believers, and the believers believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and therefore there is no relativity or multiplication of truth or whatsoever in relation to what is conveyed to us through wahi, including the hadith, the sayings, deeds, etc. of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we agree about 90% of what constitutes the religion when it comes to those fundamental and foundational aspects of religion. The differences are in the remaining 10% or so, which are matters of ijtihad, which are matters in which we need to evaluate the situation, compare it to what is in the scripture, and so on and so forth, and try to come up with a ruling. And that's not an easy thing, but we have to do it. And in there, Ustad mentions two possibilities or two methods or approaches to which that have been used among the Ahl al-Sunnah, the Sunni believers throughout history. And he talks about this, I think, in the Munazarat, where he talks about the Tahtiyah and the Musawwibah, two methods. The Tahtiyah, I don't know how to translate that, but would say, I think my method is right and their method is wrong, but I may be wrong. I may be making a mistake. Therefore, they leave the possibility that the other madhab may be right, but they say, I think they are wrong. The Musawwibah, on the other hand, says there is a differentiation of truth here. There are multiple truths here, right? And this does not conflict the definition of truth, which is, again, tabi al-waqi', the information that follows what is out there, what reality is. Because when it comes to issues that are related to whether God is pleased with or not, God may be pleased with more than one ways of doing things. So God may be pleased with us wetting a third of our head while taking wudu ablution if we are Hanafi, and just a little bit of the hair, even one strand of hair if we are Shafi'i, right? God may be pleased with both of them. It doesn't have to be my way or highway, as Qur'an referred to, right? It's either my way or leave here, go to the highway, right? So you don't have place here. That my way or highway approach is very divisive, something that kills brotherhood, huwa, concord among believers, and very unnecessarily. It is not because of the pursuit of truth, but because of the pursuit of the aggrandizement of the self, as Qur'an rightly referred to, the inability to see the broader picture, and all sorts of other weaknesses of the self, right? We need to start with from the point of our ajiz, our incapacity, our impotence in knowing all. I'll end there, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Mustafa Hojam, for your insight. From your points and also the Colin Ajam's point, it made more clear to understand. We said the unification and the difference between Meslek and Meshab, like the ways, Tariq and Suluk, and also our characters are quite different. I mean, how we are gonna kind of combine, because in one sense, the universe is very colorful. I mean, the earth is very colorful when we look at in the spring. The humans are also quite diverse, but we said we need to unify, but we cannot force the people to fit it into one size, right? As you mentioned that there might be multiple truths. This is what I understood from your points. Maybe some people are in a way that's misunderstanding that why there is a need for four school of thoughts, and they kind of see there should be a one way. But as you said, maybe Allah can be pleased in four different ways, right? This is another point also. We should not look at it as both of you pointed as my way or the highway. This is actually one of the maybe oppression to our personal life, right? Maybe first the person is having a damage from this. Also, in regards to this, Meslek and Meshab, Ustad has a point also. It reminded me that I want to just check it. This maybe one paragraph from the 21st flash. Ustad says the foundation of our way is brotherhood, not the relationship between a father and a son or sheikh and disciple. Rather, it is the relationship of relations of true brotherhood. At most, the status of a teaching master, ustad, may come into the picture. Since our way, our meslek, is khaliliye, our disposition, meshab, is loyal companionship. Khilla, close companionship, calls for being a most close companion, a most selfless friend, a most appreciative travel mate, and a most valiant brother. So Ustad is also explaining the way we are going, in the essence what we have as Meslek and Meshab. I think although we have quite differences, we need to find where we are located, and everyone has a spot on this big picture, right? And in a tree, when we look at it, not all of them are one color. The maybe fruit should be different color than the leaves. And I think this also confirms that, forcing people only one way may be against to the creation. Maybe we can think this way. I also would like to ask, I mean, how can we implement this one in our life? Are there like kind of any challenges we are having? If anyone, Colin Hocam, Mustafa Hocam, or other guest speakers would like to add to this point, please, you are more than welcome.
Can I say something very shortly?
Yes, Ali Abi, please.
Yes, I think as far as I remember and I understand, Meslek and Meshrab related to the manifestations of the names of Almighty Allah, explained in the 24th word in the beginning of it. As you know, all names are shown, displayed in human being, but in each person, one name is dominant, as stated there, one name in every person. I think this requires differences, like universe, not one color, as you said, I think, a color, different color in the worship of the class of the creatures. I think one way, main road is the clear, straight path, Sirat Mustaqim, but in that straight path, there are ways, and in the ways, mistake, there are mesharib, perhaps looks to each person. Each person's dominant character comes from the name. This name is dominant in that person. This relates to the manifestations of names of Almighty Allah, and in each person, one name is dominant. So important, I think, to understand the Uhvet Salisi and to respect in the straight path in different ways and different mashrab. I think to understand that these are coming from the manifestations of the names of Almighty Allah, and dominant, again, I'd like to repeat, dominant name in each human being. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ali Abi, for the points, the reflection of Asma Husna, right? Dominant names. And I mean, as you one time mentioned that, for example, we are looking the great Sahabis, Hazreti Osman. The dominant name, it shows like Halim. He is very calm, maybe quiet, very easygoing person, and he has a place in that status. And you know, Allah employs him, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ channel him in the right way. But when we look at the Hazrat Umar ibn Khattab, so he was kind of a very, you know, kind of a Jalal. The name of Jalal is very dominant, right? But both of them, they did a great service to Islam, and you know, we are very thankful and Alhamdulillah. So as these examples and the point you made at Alabi, I think we should be more flexible and tolerant for the different characters and how we can work with those brothers because we are under the same, you know, unified, as you said, Sirat Mustaqim, right? The big highway, but we have maybe different lines in the same highway. Thank you very much. Any brothers who would like to add any additional comments, please, you are more than welcome. If not,
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I think that necessitates to respect the other ways at the same time, and we should come together from time to time while we respect to the other ways. That means that they are also correct ones, and then in order to create or to make synergy, different perspectives, different ways, if they are all united, if they come together, maybe synergy arise from those unification. Then we should respect the other ways, and we should feel brotherhood while we face to the other groups as well at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nebi Hojam. Yes, I mean, there are many paths going to Allah. There is Tariqa, Sufism, many groups within this Sunni Islam. And as you said, we need to maybe communicate with them in a nice way to benefit from each other, to get the dua from each other, right? And you need to accept the differences. Because if we consider the Risale-i Nur students is maybe the Institute of Risale-i Nur focusing on the Aqidah. Maybe there are other institutes within the Islam, and we need them also. Someone who's going to specialize in Hadith, someone is going to specialize maybe in the memorization of Quran and other things. We are actually one body. We should not feel and behave like we are separate in the same body, right? It has to be some harmony within all of us. Of course, the way we are going to interact might be different than the people who are very close to you, and maybe your challenges also might be different. But again, you know, may Allah help us also to understand each other and also try to be in the right way, right? Thank you very much, Nabi Hojam. Those are the great points. And if there are no other comments, I can move to the second.
I would like to say one thing.
Yes,
Mustafa.
Mustafa Hojam, please.
Yes. Now this principle that we started mentioning here, that my way is the right or more beautiful. You don't say what is right is my way. It is also the foundation of a really important principle of the way of the Risale-i Nur, which is what we know as like musbat harakat, like positive action. And another way to look at that is to act with the love of your way, with what you think is true and should be followed. And what comes next is not to act with the enmity of the other's way. And this is very crucial because human psychology is such that enmity or acting with anger, right? So, and there are two emotions that are at the foundation of this. One is love, or perhaps love of truth, that we may think of it as truthfulness, which is a very elevated, subtle, refined sense or emotion, but that also involves the intellect. The other is anger, which is a very, like, it emerges from a very lower part of the nafs. If you think of it more in biological terms, and there may be other people who are better informed about these things than I am, the love of truth concerns the prefrontal cortex of the brain, the part of the brain that small children don't really have. Like, they have, but it's not developed, and then it keeps evolving, developing. They say something like up to age 25 to 27, and only after that you fully have that faculty, even in biological terms. Whereas anger, usually when anger comes, the rest of the brain's connection with the prefrontal cortex is cut off. So it's very easy and to act based on anger, and instincts come into the picture, right? We don't think as much. The intellect is much less involved, and therefore it's easier and be very easily inclined to it. And therefore, it is something that we need to be warned against. Again, since this is concerning the personal life, like the things that concern the person, we need to remind ourselves of this as we serve together again and again. That am I suggesting this because of my loyalty to and love of truth, or am I suggesting it because something is bubbling inside me and that is prodding me toward this because of my dislike of this other thing that others are doing? If it is the second, we should just back off, because we may be prejudiced in this, and that's not coming from the right place. Right, so the right things come from the right place. They need to be done with the right intention. If it's not being done with the right intention, it's not going to be pleasing to God. Now, the next question is, okay, we can differ, and they can love the truth that they think is true, and I can love the truth that I think is true, and we can be together because there are multiple things that may be pleasing God. Sometimes beauty emerges from differentiation. When you look at a garden with multiple flowers, multiple colors, that's beautiful. Ustad talks about the harmony of melodies, orchestra of zikr, orchestra of remembrance. So the harmony requires differentiation. You cannot have harmony unless you have differentiation. Otherwise, you would have a monotony. Right? Harmony is very different from monotony. However, sometimes what I love to be true and what you love to be true may contradict, or if not contradict, may be displacing the other. Say we are together in a project, and the project can go this way or that way, and both of them require the allocation of resources, and we have limited resources. So we may have to allocate it either in your way or my way, right? Now, that is when most of the problem arises, because if I dig my heel in and insist that we are going to go my way, and you dig your heel and insist that we are going to go your way, we go nowhere, right? So in addition to overcoming this psychological impediments that are related to our anger and so on and so forth, we also need to have an ethics of disagreement and ethics of resolving disputes. And there comes the institution of mashwara, consultation or counseling, and debating, and coming to a conclusion, even perhaps voting, right? So then the next thing is, let's say we are 5 people, we debated the issue, there were 2 different opinions, and then we voted to go with the one that I don't like, right? That is the point at which I need to be able to overcome my nafs and go with with the majority, because ultimately, beyond my personal truth or beyond what I love to be true personally and so on and so forth, we are all under the banner of the larger indisputable truth of this brotherhood, this being the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this being brothers in faith, and so on and so forth. And although we may not be going with what I chose, with what I love to be true, even beyond that, I need to love the principle of brotherhood as true, as a even higher truth than my personal choice in the heat of the particular action. Right. So the truths also have these ranked truths, or principles are also ranked. So ukhuwa, brotherhood, unity, harmony. Right. This is a higher truth, a higher principle than the particular truth that may come in my way, that I love in the heat of that particular event or decision and project or whatever.
Thank you very much, Mustafa Hocam. Yes, the positive attitude, right, between the groups, and the importance of, let's say, using the anger, and you also explained from the biological perspective. And also the key point is the meshwara, like consultation with the people around us, right? These are very key points, I think. Thank you very much. Kodin Hocam, would you like to add anything, or anyone from our attendees? If not, we can move to the second golden rule.
I was just going to add that diversity is also important. I mean, we talk about unity, but there is, as Mustafa said, diversity within unity. You know, when you make a salad, you put tomatoes, you put onions, you put cucumber, right? They're all very different. They're all diverse, but together they come together and in a unity, preserving their diversity, but in a unity that is pleasing. So I think most of the problems that we have when we're with others, and we're talking about my way is right or more beautiful, is that it's not the maslak which is the issue, really. It's the mashrab. And the mashrab, I think, is what informs our approach. And approaches are different. And as Ali Abi said, approaches are reflections of the different permutations and configurations of names that make up our being, our personal being. So it's usually on the level of approach that people differ. And I think there the only thing to do is, because we're talking here about, in accordance with Innamal Mu'minuna Ikhwa, we're talking about interpersonal relations between believers. I think the thing to do is to always think that your brother believer is more of a believer than you are and is more sincere than you are. And that, in a sense, I mean, it may be true, it may not be true, but I think we have to nurture that kind of approach, because then that cuts down on our own tendency to want to own the situation. You know, if you're talking about a particular course of action that you want to take, and I've seen this happen, I mean, in retreats that we've been on, usually it's not about what the person believes or even what maslak they belong to, but how they approach a situation and how they deal with it. And I think in context like that, first of all, we have to say those brothers are more sincere than I am, and also in certain contexts, they know more about the thing than I do. For example, they know more about organizing, for example, an activity than I do, and I have to admit that. And I think that if we go in with that idea, that these brothers are better believers than I am and more sincere, that helps us, I think, to cut down on this sense of ownership we have, not just over our maslak, but also over our mashrab. And also, as Nebi said, getting together, coming out of our comfort zone, traveling, seeing other people, seeing how other communities interact with each other and with the world, rather than staying in our own bubble, where we just live in our own echo chamber, and it just kind of self-validating, thoughts and temperament is being nurtured. We need to get out there, and we need to mix, and we need to see people, And we need to understand that, we're not the only game in town. There are others as well who have better ideas, who have their mashrab is more conducive to peace and to harmony and to unity. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Colin Hocam. It was a great example, this salad, right? We need unity, but there is also diversity. And I think there was also this famous phrase in the US, united we stand, divided we fall. If we are all scattered and not having any unity, that means there is no power reflection. There is no other kind of happiness, and many things will be losing because you cannot get together. So yeah, these are important points, as you said, the character, the mashup, how we are going to utilize this one when we consider in the also small scale and the larger scale. Thank you very much. I would like to move the second
Sorry,
facet. Yes,
Mr. Bagardi, a few sentences only I'd like to share from the 24th word in the
yes,
first.
please.
Then ask a human being who is a true human and see how he recites all the most beautiful names and how they are written on his forehead. If you look carefully, you too may read them. It is as if the universe is a huge orchestra celebrating the divine names, mixing the faintest song with the most powerful refrains. It produces a sublime and subtle harmony. It produces a sublime, subtle harmony, Mustafa brother has stated. You may make further analogies in the same way. For sure, man is the place of manifestation of all the names, but the names being various has resulted in the universe's variety and the differences in the angels' worship, and has also caused a degree of variety among men. The different laws of the prophets, the different ways of the saints, and the different paths of the purified scholars, Asfiya, has arisen, come from this mystery. This is the mystery related to the manifestations of the names of Almighty Allah. For example, together with the other names, the name of all-powerful Qadir was predominant. Predominant is Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, peace be upon him. And in those who follow the path of love, the name of loving, Vedud, loving one, prevails. I think prevails should be thought about it. Prevails. And in those who follow the path of contemplation and reflection, the name of all-wise, Hakim. Sometimes in TV in the past, there was a discussion, very beautiful discussion related to this matter. Believers should be the same, for example. This voice comes to the ears, beautiful, seems to be beautiful. But this idea takes believers to fighting because it is impossible. It is contrary to the mystery of the manifestations of the names of Allah. The right one is, as far as I remember from the discussion, right one, yes, different ways, different meshrab on the straight path should be, but they should support to each other. No fighting, no conflicting, but in detailed matters especially. There are different ways, different views, but they are supporting each other to each other. They are completing to each other. In fact, their target goal is the same, which is pleasure of Almighty Allah. Yes.
Thank you very much, Alabi, for reading the relevant part and for your comments. This is really important. I think the first rule, how it is being implemented in our life. If we use this, it's gonna bring maybe a lot of us with different personalities, as you mentioned. Maybe we can be more work towards what is the dominant name of the Allah is gonna reflect it on us, and everyone within the same path or same community can benefit from each other. So although we may not have all the names reflected on us individually, dominantly, but if you are in the same, community or meslek, actually you can also benefit from them. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khairan kesiran. And now we can move to second precept, the second principle. It is a right upon you that all you say should be right, but you do not have the right to say all that is right. Everything you say should be correct, but it is not correct to say everything that is correct. For the advice of a man whose intentions are insincere like you may sometimes provoke the opposite of the desired action. I mean, here Ustad just put 3 sentences, but he has a very eloquent way to describe. To me, the first sentence and the second sentence is very similar. And from the works of the Ustad Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, we know that he doesn't use an excessive words or unnecessary thing. How it is different from the first sentence to the second sentence? I mean, can we a little bit elaborate with some examples? I would like to ask Mustafa Hocam if you are available.
I am available, but I need to think about what you asked. So I don't have a immediate answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, Koyun Hocam, Ali Hocam, Nevi Hocam, or Nazif Hocam, Okan Hocam, anyone who would like to say what is the difference between the first 2 sentences and how we can understand it? Is there any example you can share with us to elaborate?
I think it depends on what the original words are. Right sounds more like haq.
Hak and doğru.
Yeah, then that's quite clear then, I think. One is truth and one is something that's correct. It may be correct, but it may have nothing to do with the truth as such. You may correct someone's language, for example. It's not correct to say everything that's correct. You may correct someone. Everything you say should be correct, but it's not correct to say everything that is correct. So I think, there is a difference between what is right and what is correct. But I think it's all contextual. So, I mean, I'd have to think about that as well.
Ali Abi, would you like to add
Yes,
anything?
a short example I'd like to share. And the example is related to this matter, your question or not, I am not sure, but inshallah can help us in discussion. For example, first sentence, it is right upon you that all you say you should be right. Yes, this is in force for each of us. We should say right. Yes, but you do not have the right to say all that is right. For example is this. For example, the father is making mistake. But sometimes, for example, in the family life, sometimes if the son warns his father, although he is telling completely right things, but it is can give harm sometimes. It is not easy to take, for example, advice for father from his son, for example. In this context, the son can think or should think that I shouldn't say this to my father. The preacher or the person who my father relies on can say in place of me the same thing, but not me. That person who elderly or my father respects him, if he tells this reality, inshallah becomes beneficial. But if I say, I think between father son, the example is this, yes, is about. But sometimes between two brothers, two people, the same can be taught. And sometimes, for example, in the office or in other place, we have seen a mistake, but yes, we should say reality, truth, but we should, it is necessary to think for us. Yes, this should be told, but who will tell this reality? Me or other friends? I think perhaps this example can help us, I thought. Yes.
Can I just add something then?
Yes,
Assalamu
Hikmet
alaikum.
Hocam, please. Thank you very much, Ali Hocam.
So if you are going to continue, I can wait for you if you wanted to summarize or anything.
No, please go ahead, Hikmet Hocam. Yes, that's fine.
I was going to give you one example. This is basically that, at least that my understanding was that always just the usloob, balaghat is really important. I'll give you one example. I had a brother who is the Ahli Tariqat, and then he was struggling with the anxiety. And he invited me a number of times to just do La ilaha illallah 200 or 300 times. I went to his house, and then we did that. I know that zikr is going to help his heart, but I also know that anxiety is also coming from mind as well. So what I did is I just gave him. You want to read this book, Hastala Risalesi? I gave him. And 2 days later, that he came to me and then he hugged me, and then he said, "I'm going to hug Said Nursi as well." So I said, "What happened?" That first cure and then first deva, that he was talking about, that, curiosity is going to just increase your anxiety, or wondering that what's going to happen, that is going to enhance that or improve your anxiety or sickness. This is for everything, but he said, I was always curious that what was going to happen. Is this going to continue? And then 5 years later. So I didn't know that, but I just gave him that book. And this is kind of, if I said that, hey, this is going to cure your anxiety, I'm sure that he was going to just approach me with like some kind of bias. And maybe that is related to the other aspects as well. When you put from one GPS from Phoenix to Tucson, there's going to be 4 different ways that you can go. One is going to be highway, the other is going to be urban area or rural area. But it is all going to the same place, and you are going to reach what you want to reach. But what we need to understand, that if everything is boundary of the Quran and Ahl Sunnah or Sunnat Saniyah, it's not just exceeding that. We have 4 different ways to go. And divine names is for each one of the person is different. And we don't know sometimes that who is really exactly that has divine names and what it helps, and respecting and helping. And instead of just saying that everything I can say is right and I need to say it, if, for instance, students to teacher or teacher to student, and that's what I say, that the balaghat is completely different, or usloob is different. And so that this is the first 2 sentences that I wanted to say, is that, at least in my understanding, usloob, and Ali Abi is also explaining, is completely different, and how you can approach and nicely and to explain that what is right and what is that is going to be helpful is different. So this is just all I wanted to give an example about this. And he started reading whole, and I gave him the words as well that he's reading. So although that he was just doing that, the La ilaha illallah, he was thinking that he's going to help. I'm sure that it is going to help. And he now that the mind is different than heart, and every tariq or every route is just giving some different things to different people. Not only our just the name is different, or predominant or not dominant name is divine name is different. Those names is just helping us a lot in terms of taking the whatever the route that we are going to take. And for instance, I like to go with highway, but in the GPS, it says there's other ways that you can go, as long as the boundary is that is going to help you to reach whatever your goal is. I think that the uslub, that's what I understood from these two sentences. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know if I'm clear, but.
Thank you very much for the great example, Hikmet Hocam. It makes a lot of things very clear, and a very good experience actually with someone who is on a different path, meaning maybe tariqa. But the way you present it, yes, as you said, maybe you didn't say a lot of things when you're giving the book, but you know, the usul, the style is very critical, right? Thank you very much. Anyone who would like to add anything, please?
Last thing.
Mustafa Hocam, not to add something, but did you have an insight about the differentiating between, like, difference between haq and doğru, like those two sentences? I'm curious if you had an idea about that.
Okay. I mean, what it comes to me, I think maybe Alabi is going to
Yes.
explain to us.
Yeah. A few sentences I'd like to share
Yes.
from the 21st flash. Bismillah ve yusiruna ala enfusihim, perhaps related to the matter we are discussing. Inshallah, can help us. But give them preference over themselves. Choose your brother's souls to your own soul in honor, rank, acclaim, in the things your soul enjoys, like material benefits. Even in the most innocent, harmless benefits, like informing a needy believer about one of the subtle, fine truths of belief. If possible, encourage one of your companions who does not want to inform him, so that your soul does not become conceited. If you have a desire, like, let me tell him this pleasant matter, so I'll gain the reward, it surely is not a sin, and there is no harm in it, but the meaning of sincerity between you could be damaged. I think this sentence also full of mysteries. I'd like to repeat. If you have a desire, like, let me tell him this pleasant matter, so I'll gain the reward, it surely is not a sin, and there is no harm in it, but, and before but, after but. What is the difference between the phrases? But the meaning of sincerity between you could be damaged. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali Abi. Yeah, I mean, from our panelists and the brothers' points, they were all great. And what comes to my mind that, you know, when there is a conflict between two brothers, different opinions, and there is a heated discussion, maybe angers, if the one who sees himself as a right, if he says all the rights by himself to the other side, it may hurt, you know, he's not ready, or he may not the right person to tell at that point. Maybe as Alabi mentioned from the example, if someone else he prefers to tell these truths, it might be maybe well absorbing for that person. We should say everything right, but there is a timing, there is a kind of a personal kind of a relationship between who's gonna say calmly, who's gonna look for other sensitivities. So I think there is many dimensions. As Alabi, you pointed out that if you say all the rights you can say, or all of them you can say to someone for his hidayah, but if you prefer the other person, maybe your sincerity, you know, you can maybe do a more sincere approach that way, because you also involve other people. But if only you say, I'm gonna say, then it's like kind of a factor of ana. There might be a big trap on this. I think this is what comes to my mind. And I mean, also, like, all of the things Ustad says, everything you say should be correct. Yes, you cannot lie, but it's not correct to say everything that is correct because of maybe timing issue or the environment you are in at that moment. I don't know. I mean, I hope it is more clear with our panelist points, and inshallah, maybe the timing is also almost there. And I would like to ask Alabi for the final dua.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب ما يقربنا إليك اللهم لا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا اللهم زدنا علما ونورا وحلما وآتنا نعمة ظاهرة والنعمة باطنة يا محول الحول والأحوال حول حالنا إلى أحسن الحال اللهم بحق سورة الإخلاص اجعلنا من عبادك المخلصين المخلصين آمين لله تعالى الفاتحة